Welcome back to Your Next Episode, the podcast where we talk to experts and interesting people entering their 40s, 50s and beyond. I'm Amy.
And I'm Louise.
And today we're joined down the line by Sharon Walters, who in her 40s has discovered a new outlet for her creativity and a desire to celebrate women of African descent and use her voice to encourage all of us to take up space. She's an artist, she's an educator and also coordinator of a community outreach programme at Gunnersbury Park Museum in West London. Welcome. Hello, Sharon.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for coming on. So you started your Seeing Ourselves collage series about 2 years ago, was it?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah,
2 years ago last month.
Oh, wow. So you're kind of celebrating
I am.
that.
It's been a really fast 2 years, but it's been brilliant.
It has kind of, because we met probably about 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think we met at Lucky Things. Things have really, taken off since then.
That's what I seem to have seen. It's all kicked off, isn't it?
It's all kicked off. It's all gone a bit wild.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. We talk about this all the time, like that thing of how the whole social media thing is sometimes it can be seen as sort of like an evil stain on our society and on our communities, but actually that thing of connecting with people, and I guess that's how you've organically spread the word about what you've done, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think with starting the series, I started posting my work daily on Instagram, and I got so much encouragement, and I still get a lot of encouragement to keep posting and to keep creating, and it's the way I sell my work too.
How would you describe your style and the Seeing Ourselves project specifically?
So Seeing Ourselves is a collage series. It's a handmade collage series. So I use photographs and images and magazines, and I use a scalpel and a cutting mat, and I cut up images of women with natural afro hair. I use paper cuts and glue, and I just absolutely love creating the series. It really is a way of me reaffirming my right to take up space. And through the work that I do, I encourage others to do the same.
Do you know what? I used to stalk people. Now for this podcast, it's called research. So I see you sometimes you'll sit there into the small wee hours, won't you? I guess you just get on like a meditation tip.
It's so relaxing. It's difficult to explain how relaxing it is. In fact, this morning, I rarely work first thing in the morning, but this morning I did. And I got up and I just started cutting. It was around about 6 o'clock.
Wow.
But I had a lot on my mind, so I just wanted to relax and unwind. Yeah, you just get into a meditative state, and it's so addictive. It just slows everything down and keeps you very mindful.
Did you go to art college, or when was the beginning of you making that link between the scalpel sort of gliding across paper and just that almost Zen-like quality of that?
So yeah, I did go to art college. I firstly went to a university when I was in my 20s, but after being made redundant years ago, I decided to go back and study what I really always wanted to study, which was art.
Right.
And I graduated from Central St Martin's in 2011. But my art practice at that time wasn't really 2D type work. So it wasn't collage or painting. It was more video installation pieces, so using sound and photographic images to create videos.
Yeah.
But more recently, basically after I had an ankle injury from running, I decided to start making work that was kind of different from what I'd been making before. Just before that time, I'd been painting, but I looked around the house and looked for what I actually had lying around, and I had a scalpel, as you do.
And, within reach. If you've got an ankle injury, you're laid up. I guess you just had to.
Yeah, I just wanted to use something that I had lying around, and so I started cutting up from magazines and gluing. Creating new images.
You're just talking about that moving image thing. There's one image that I've got in my mind that you created where it looked like it was a video behind it. Do you know which one I mean? It looked like it was outside in the garden or something.
Yeah, it was in the garden. So with all the work that I create, I try and keep it pretty low tech.
Yeah.
I use what I have. I don't have high tech kind of programs or anything. And I basically cut a collage, a paper cut. I then filmed the paper cut with the garden behind. And then I was playing my radio, my speaker as well. So I created a video doing that. It's something that I'd really like to explore further.
Yeah.
I've made a few of them, but I'd really like to exhibit them.
I just love that. There was just that fluidity, and we'll put a link in the show notes to it because you'll see what we're talking about. It's really beautiful and kind of, yeah, it does have that kind of hypnotic state almost about it.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know. Can you tell I've just come back from India and I'm all like,
I know.
with my Zen my Zen material. I think this is going to go down well on the open mic night circuit.
I've just come back from my yoga retreat. I watched your stories, by the way, and I thought they were brilliant. I think I saw every one.
Oh, yeah, I did. You've sort of covered the process of how you do it. Do you tend to sort of send people images, or do you get commissions? How do you start with an idea?
It depends, really. This morning, I was just looking through magazines and I found an image, and I just cut that image up, and it's probably almost unrecognisable from what the original one was.
Yeah.
But I just recently, actually just yesterday, I got commissioned for a new commission, a bespoke piece, and I've been sent the image and I'll work from that image. And that's a surprise for someone, so I can't talk about it very much. But I work from images that are given to me. Recently, I also worked on an image of my grandfather and gave that piece to my dad for his 70th.
Oh, lovely. Incredible.
I like taking the photos myself. That's my favourite thing to do. If I meet someone randomly, it's always a weird thing to ask, but can I take your photograph? And this is what I do. And basically, I'd like to cut up your photograph to make a new picture. And that feeling when I actually see someone who I'd love to include in the series is quite overwhelming.
Yeah, it must be just that sort of strike of just inspiration when you can almost see how that end product might look just by seeing somebody.
It's less about how the end product might look. The starting point is really how the face looks and the light and shade.
Yeah.
And I can see the sections that I would immediately I will remove, and that's quite exciting.
So let's say I wanted to give Amy a picture of her, a collage of herself. Would I? Is that how it works? So I would send you a photograph of Amy. Would you then cut that up and then remake it? I'm slightly baffled as to...
That's okay. I can explain it. It's
it's quite a visual thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I can understand it would be confusing. So you would send me a picture of Amy. You're right. I would then go to my printers. I use a print company, and they print onto a particular type of paper that I like to cut from.
Right.
I would then use that print and put it onto my cutting mat and cut away from that image.
Right.
So I wouldn't use just general everyday paper. I use a particular type of paper.
Okay.
It's also archival quality, so it will last forever, in theory. And I would work from that image. After I've cut the pieces that I'm interested in cutting, I then layer up with different types of, it might be patterns, or it might be, I don't know, scenes from nature or urban landscape.
Yeah.
Once I'm happy with the composition of the piece, I would then start gluing the piece together.
Okay, thank you.
So you can almost see the images from nature or whatever Sharon would choose through the cuts of the face, as it were. It was quite weird when we did that workshop because people were kind of like hacking into faces of, obviously people were like, oh, this feels a bit weird actually, like, are we taking their soul or something? This was just like random pictures that we'd chosen from magazines that you brought along. But I guess it is a muscle that once you get into the rhythm of that, you develop your own style for it.
Yeah, you do. And those pictures that we used in that workshop were all friends of mine. So they had all agreed to have their images used in the workshop, and they were really thrilled that I'd asked them. I feel as though for me it's a meditative process, and it really helps me calm things down, and it helps with my mental health and all sorts of things. But also the response from people who either buy the work or are featured in the work has always been really, really positive.
Yeah.
So it feels, to use that phrase, like a win-win, where everyone involved feels part of the process to a certain extent.
Yeah, that is lovely.
Yeah. So why did you wait until your 40s to do this? I know that you had an ankle injury, but was it something that had been on your mind for a long time?
I've had quite a varied career. I probably did my first art workshop in a secondary school, delivering to secondary school kids, over 20 years ago. And I then went into sales and did various other jobs, but I did come back to fine arts. Right. And so I've been doing art for quite a long time. I mean, I was teaching and training teachers on how to deliver post-16 citizenship education back in 2005. And I was doing that through fine art.
Oh, right.
I was teaching in pupil referral units and working with young people and children.
So had you been sort of holding back, though, a bit? I'm just wondering if you as you got into your 40s and coming out of that fog of having small children, it's quite common for people to sort of suddenly think, oh, actually, this is what I want to do, having a bit more clarity about what they really want to be doing.
Yeah, I think it coincided with the ankle injury, cutting down drinking as much.
Oh, yes, yeah.
I was running just before the ankle injury. So a lot of things changed all at the same time. I was also thinking about, the fact that I am now in my 40s and what that means and what I want to actually do in the future and what my dreams were. And I think when I was running, I basically did a 10K. I was trained to do a 10K within 4 months. I'd never run before.
Wow.
Because of a spinal condition, and a friend at the gym taught me how to run. She trained me for free, which was really, really amazing. But it changed my mindset. It really changed how I viewed what I was capable of.
Wow.
And she was also a really good role model, as in she didn't drink loads. And she was really driven and really focused, and really helped me to believe that things outside of what I expected were actually possible.
Yeah. I mean, that's what this podcast is all about, really, isn't it? Just that thing of sort of, you come up for air either after having children or getting to a certain point in your career, and it's like, oh, okay, reframing what you're capable of. And
it's true that what you say about what Louise was saying about coming out of the fog of having small children. With both children, I had postnatal depression and anxiety depression, so I think coming through that and feeling much stronger both mentally and physically, it really helped me to change my direction and just to think about things more positively.
So can I go back to you've been a year sober now, is that right? Or just over a year?
Yeah, just over a year. Yeah. So it was just at the end of December was my year.
Okay, so we had Sober Dave on the podcast. I think do you know him? I'm sure we did.
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
We met at a sober dinner at the Redemption Bar last year.
Oh,
and
right.
I met quite a few others as well.
Okay, so we had him on at the beginning of the year, and lots of us have done Dry January, myself included, and Amy's been sober for 15 months now, is that right, Amy?
About the same time as you. In fact, I was probably closeted when, I had this whole thing about coming out, like the shame of coming out of being sober. And I think when we did actually meet, I was doing my, can I get a lemonade, please, at the bar? Can you put a slice of lime in it? And then I'd do this weird kind of like, I'm a bit tipsy. But I wasn't. But just the shame of kind of like I don't want to spoil anyone's night or bring anyone down.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious, Amy.
The things that we do.
You realise you didn't have to do that now, right?
Like nobody gives a shit, really, Amy. Like nobody, you're not that important that everybody's going to base their night on you. But again, I had to work through that.
Yeah, I think I am that important, though. I really do.
Sense of entitlement. It's funny, isn't it? You have that. You sometimes put the pieces together afterwards that actually, my not drinking so much or being maybe a bit more of a mindful drinker has actually coincided with this really productive and creative time in my life. Is that a coincidence?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I cut down drinking because of running, and then when I started to try and drink again, I would just get the most horrendous headaches.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because I think I'm sure somewhere you'd said on Instagram that you really, really tried to carry on drinking, didn't you? Like kept drinking wine and then getting a headache and thinking, I'll try again.
Trying again. And also being around people who are kind of encouraging that sometimes.
Yes.
Like, we tried a different drink. And now looking back, I think, what the hell was I doing? It wasn't a health food, it was going to make me well. But I was so used to being a certain way and fitting in. And it was about me fitting in, I think. I think I really wanted to be part of something, I'm not quite sure what. And by not drinking and just being used to being in that kind of headspace of this is what you do when you're having fun, and without it, you're not really fun. And I think a lot of my identity was based around drinking and socialising. When that was removed, I just had to really look at the basics of who I actually am.
And that's scary, isn't it? It's scary to sort of take away that, if that is part of, you don't want to piss on anyone's parade by going out for a drink and having a good old heart-to-heart and a good old chinwag, but you are sitting there with a cranberry juice or something. But I think sometimes it's just owning that, isn't it?
Yeah, and you realise that you're I'm an idiot with booze and I'm an idiot without. That's my personality. I can be fun with or fun without. So it's not about the alcohol. And also people who are judging you for not drinking, are they really people that you really want to hang around with?
I think sometimes people judge you and get sort of like, oh, boring, because it actually just highlights something that they probably realise that is a bit of an issue for them as well, but they don't want to face it.
100%.
So,
I mean, we had this, there's this thing, again, I will stop going, in India we had this thing. We did
on your yoga retreat.
Yeah, we did have this thing where we
went on a yoga retreat, Amy.
I don't even know, but I went on a yoga retreat. We had this thing, obviously there was lots of deep chats about stuff, and the thing that kept coming up is like, remember that thing that somebody said to you really hasn't got anything to do with you. That's their stuff a lot of the time. I mean, obviously there are exceptions to that, but that example you just said there, just remembering, that's actually got nothing to do with me. That's none of my business, that judgment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And to be honest, I was that judgy person who was like, why are you drinking? Why? It used to be so much fun and, really goading people. And it's just interesting now that I'm on the other side.
Well, that was about you, Sharon.
Yeah.
That was about you at that time, wasn't it? That was your stuff. It really
was.
Yeah.
It was my stuff. It was nothing to do with anyone else.
So the work you've been doing in the last couple of years, the Seeing Ourselves collage series, it particularly focuses on women with natural afro hair. Is that right? So when you were a child, was your natural hair embraced or not?
Asked me that question before.
Pardon?
Yeah, I'm really impressed with that one. So was my natural hair embraced? Okay, so up until the age of about, I can't remember. I started having my hair chemically straightened from about the age of 7 or 8.
Wow.
Goodness. Earlier than that, I think I was having my hair hot ironed, which is where there's a hot comb that's put on a stove and then you comb the hair through to relax the kinks out of the hair. Right. But I think you have to put this into context as well. So just thinking about coming to a completely different country where you're not always made to feel very welcome, despite being part of the speech marks Commonwealth, and not really seeing people put on a pedestal with natural afro hair.
No.
So I think it's not that I feel any kind of resentment towards the decisions that were made when I was growing up.
No, you can understand them, but the fact is,
I can completely understand them, and I can understand now why people aren't always comfortable with their natural afro hair. Because for a long time, I wasn't. I mean, I had my hair chemically straightened for 20 years. And what I really wanted to do through the series was to celebrate natural afro hair and to celebrate the fact that your beauty is within what grows naturally from your head, basically. And I think that's quite difficult to do when around you see images of women who don't look like you.
No.
Are then celebrated, and you don't see yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why this series is called Seeing Ourselves, because I feel as though not only within magazines or mainstream media, but also through arts and heritage, or, you know, when I work for a museum, and how many people that look like me are within my workspace, or when I go to events, how many people are there within that space also. So it's about embracing and learning to love myself.
And has it changed the way you see yourself then? Doing the series, has it given you more confidence? Has it been empowering?
Yeah, it's really empowering. Yeah, I feel, can you hear in my voice?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really has empowered me. I feel so much stronger, and I'm proud of who I am. And, you know, I obviously have the days where I go, oh, you don't look that great today. But I'm not saying I wake up every day and go, you look great. I feel more confident with who I am, and I'm not trying to be anyone else but me. Yeah. And I embrace my difference.
It's really interesting what you say, Sharon, about when you go to those events, you work at a museum, are you seeing people who look like you at those events? And it really reminds me of the, I saw the Joaquin Phoenix BAFTA thing. I wanted to touch on that with you, and I've actually ordered the book, Me and White Supremacy, by an author called Layla F. Sard.
Yeah, I haven't read that yet,
no,
but I have heard about it.
So, yeah, it's just that thing of sort of like, oh, these are uncomfortable conversations, but so many people have been so uncomfortable for so long, so let's pull up our big girl pants and let's have this conversation, and talk about that, and that dismantling things from the position that we're in. I'm not sure what my exact question is here.
That's okay. Well, I think it's about having the conversation, but also making steps towards making change. So acting on those conversations, making a difference. If you see that people are underrepresented, asking why that's happening within the organisation, for example, that you might work in. Why is it there are no people of colour in positions of power, or why do they not have a seat at the table? And what are you doing to reach out to the people who are underrepresented? And just trying to shake things up, really.
And I thought about like, well, why doesn't everyone do that? Why don't we do that? And is it because I don't know? There's a part of self-protection there, or we don't want to rock the boat, or something. I don't know. But that just seems like bullshit when you look at this issue. I thought about men and women, and how women really want equality, and actually it's the men who have to be backing us up in those conversations. Not that it's the same thing, but we all need to be calling that out, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And I think unless it actually affects you directly, there's quite often no reason to change things because it doesn't have an impact. So if it doesn't have an impact, it's quite easy to sit there and not see why that would be an issue for someone else.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a door open and you're able to walk through the door, you probably haven't noticed that there are about another 5 or 6 people behind you that haven't been able to walk through that door because, for whatever reason, I think it can be quite difficult for people to see that, or sometimes they just don't want to see it. They see it and it's like, well, that's not my problem, that's for someone else to deal with.
One thing that he said in that speech was, it's not that anyone wants any preferential treatment, but hey, that's what we're all doing sitting here.
And I think it's about having that acceptance speech, but then following up on what happens next. Because the speech, yes, it was powerful. Yes, he used his position of power to discuss really important issues. To start a conversation. But it's then about what happens next. What can we do to ensure that we're not here this time next year and someone else just comes up and then makes a speech too.
I wanted to ask you again about the Collage Workshops, which I know you sort of touched on, but who are they for exactly? Are they for people like me, for example? So I'm 50 and I'm not very artistic. But
So the workshops are generally for people who don't have any experience of art.
Really?
Yeah, they are. I think art collage is a really, really good medium to use because you don't need to be able to draw.
Well,
and that can be a barrier for people.
Because I cannot draw, and I'm just sitting here listening, and I was listening to Amy talking about what she did, and you talking about the process, and I'm just thinking, well, with some guidance, that is something. If it doesn't involve drawing,
you could do it. Honestly, you could do it.
Yeah.
And it's for people of all ages, so it depends on which workshop. So a couple of weeks ago, I did a workshop with children, and they didn't use the scalpels, but we used scissors. And those workshops, they created such beautiful work, but that was for an art club. Right. And the children were aged between, I think one group was 6 and 8, and then I had 2 groups of 9 to 12-year-olds. And then I've also done collage workshops with teenagers. I've done workshops with adults as well. So they vary. The next one I have coming up is on the 4th of May, and that's at Pitshanger Manor Gallery in Ealing. And that's an evening workshop, but no experience is required. And I really encourage people who haven't been involved in art and don't consider themselves artistic to come along and just try something new. You don't have to, you don't have to start selling your work and doing exhibitions and all the rest of it. You can, but you can just do it so that it's, you do something that's therapeutic.
Yeah, it's so therapeutic, isn't it? Because I've been at various things where I've had to sit down and make something as, something small with guidance. And as I say, I'm not artistic at all. And usually it's the sort of thing I would absolutely swerve because I'd be just like, no, I'm rubbish at it. But having done this a couple of times, sort of slightly been forced to, I found it very therapeutic.
To switch off, to unplug from technology and have that creative time is so beneficial, isn't it?
It really is. And I create most of my pieces from my sofa, unless I'm doing a large piece, which I would then make on my kitchen table. But I think for a long time I was thinking, just going back to your question, actually, for a long time I was thinking that I needed this art studio because I've always wanted to be an artist. And I kind of felt like I needed an art studio and I needed all this stuff. And, when I've got a certain amount of money, then, I won't need to work and I'll just create art all day. And I realised that I was kind of standing in my own way a little bit. I was thinking of reasons why I shouldn't do stuff or the reasons why I couldn't do things. And really, it was all right here. I just needed to change my mindset.
So you stopped waiting for the right time to do things and just realised it's not too late. I don't need to have all of these things in place. I can actually just start doing this now. And yeah. So I think we touched on it earlier, but can you just explain where we can access your work? So is it on display?
Well, I'm going to be at the Affordable Art Fair next month.
Oh, in Battersea Park?
Yeah, in Battersea Park. I'll be with Will's Art Warehouse. I'll be with that gallery. Just about all my pieces are on Instagram.
Okay.
And I do have prints, and in my highlights I have the prints that are currently available that can be sent out straight away. You can also look at my website, although that needs updating, so you're better off using Instagram.
Who spends time updating a website these days when you can just do it all on Instagram? I mean, I think it's good to have something. If someone Googles you, you've got a homepage there. But really, I mean, you can just update everything.
Yeah, on Instagram. And people. So this week I got the commission yesterday, but I also sold, I think, 3 prints went out this week.
Do you feel you're at a point where, I mean, obviously the museum is the day job, is that right?
Yeah,
that's your
someone called it my side hustle the other day, which was really funny.
What, the museum is the side hustle and the actual art is the main thing? Well, I was going to ask you, there's obviously a tipping point, isn't there, where you'll probably be able to answer this question better in a year from now or 2 years from now. Yeah. Do you feel like you're at that point where you would draw back, pull back a bit on the museum to be able to do the work?
The museum work is about working with underrepresented voices from our museum audiences. So those might be young people, for example, or I have another project with the Japanese community, LGBTQ+. So it's all about people having a voice and collaborating with people so that they take up space within our museum. Yeah. So you can see where the link is to my art practice. So they are really closely linked
It's not like you're selling insurance during the day and then doing, it is totally linked, isn't it?
Yeah,
which is a
totally
great place
linked.
to be.
So tomorrow I'm working with our new artist in residence on a new project. So I am going in. It's a Saturday tomorrow, so I'll be working with him and his team. So I am doing things that are linked, but time-wise, I'm feeling quite stretched time-wise because I'm about to apply for another project as well. So there's lots going on and it's super exciting. But I think for me, I'm trying not to think too far ahead. I'm taking each day at a time and kind of approaching my life as I do a collage and just not thinking about the end product, just going with it.
So finally, can I ask you the two questions that we ask all guests who are over 40, which is what's great about this time of your life, and also what are you excited about, which is a new one that I've added. Just for you, you're the first time trying this out on.
Well, I'm definitely less fearful and I understand who I am now. Yeah. I think I care about myself more than I did probably in my 20s. Yeah, I definitely care about myself more than I did then. I'm excited about this new commission that I'm working on. Yeah. Super excited.
Oh, but it's secret, isn't it? So
it's a secret one, but it's a very special one, and they're all special, but this one's very different. So I'm looking forward to working on this, and I'll finish that within the next month or so.
Oh, good.
I'm excited about the Affordable Art Fair and my new project with the gallery and some other stuff that's coming up too.
That's secret as well, obviously.
Yeah.
Thank you ever so much, Sharon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the chat. It was really, really good.
Oh, good.
Really good.
Made by darkhorsedigital.co.uk. Shooting, live streaming and podcast production.
Hello, this is Rich Wilson, host of the podcast Insane in the Membrane, where we talk to funny and interesting people about men's mental health. People like James Acaster.
Because we won't talk about emotions because we think that's bad. We won't talk about feelings, think that's bad. So they've had to rebrand it and go, it's mental health. Go, mental. Our brains are so, I'm pretty clever. Okay, I'll get into my mental. I like puzzles.
And Rob Beckett.
I've never even done a school play. I did some open mic gigs. Did the Edinburgh Fringe, somehow got on the telly, and I'm in the other side of the world in the jungle doing nights, following Ant and Dec.
And David Baddiel.
Mum comes up to me and says, I'm starting this charity and it's for men and mental health in men, and would you like to be the patron of it? And my first thought was, oh right, so I come to this place every day. If I say no, she's going to be looking at me every day like, you cunt, you uncaring, pretending to be interested in mental health.
Search Insane in the Membrane from wherever you get your podcasts. Brand new episodes every